really long amount of time.
All right. Andy, I can't do things with you.
Nailing it immediately.
We are live, by the way. All right. Magic is real, Maida, Will blurted out. Your whole family is magical, and so are we. Oh, shut up, shut up, shut up. Arthur rested his head in his hands and breathed slowly. Do you realize how crazy you sound, Will? Arthur fought to keep his voice calm and rational. Just enough with your joking. Nobody finds it funny. Well, that's because I'm not joking. I told you, Arthur, I don't believe in gaslighting. Maida deserves to know the truth. Why can't you see that she belongs in Primrose Court?
Okay. Hang on a moment, Will. That's more than enough.
Maida held up her hand to stop him from saying anything further. She shuddered a little. This was something Arthur had seen ordinaries do before, when, shaking off something magical that they weren't able to process. Sometimes it was accompanied by goosebumps and a cold sweat, and then they, usually fainted. Well, at least she was sitting down.
I just wanted to get some information before I signed. I'm good now. Where are those papers?
Well, she seemed fine, and he didn't want to waste any more time. Arthur fanned the contract out in front of her and placed his fountain pen on the top of the pile. No, I can't let her sign. Will snatched the pen away.
What has gotten into you today, Will? Maybe you should take some time off.
Maida admonished him. She wrestled the pen back and turned her attention back toward Arthur. He paused only for the briefest of moments before pointing to the signature line on the last page. Here, sign here. You know what? Will pouted and jumped to his feet. Have it your way, you two. One of these days, you'll learn to take me seriously, though. I'm choosing not to take it personally. I'm gonna order some more donuts. With this, Will stormed off towards the end of the line in front of the counter. Oof, is he always this unhinged? Arthur asked quietly. Maida studied Will for a moment, a look of tenderness crossing her face.
I don't know. Will is special. He's very sensitive, and he has a vivid imagination, possibly even wilder than my own. He'd say anything to get me to move back to Boston. I think he means well.
She flipped through the pages of the contract, taking a moment to review the documents before signing. Well, thank you for trusting me to handle this. While she skimmed, Arthur examined the menu she had been scribbling on. Besides the house that resembled the Mudpuddle, there was also a willow tree. He recognized it immediately. Arthur spun the page around to get a closer look. Hanging from the tree was a child's rope swing. She had drawn it exactly as Arthur remembered it. There was even a cloud of butterflies gathered around the tree. Although the drawing was done in gray pencil, he didn't have to ask what color they'd be in reality. Can I have this? He asked. With a flourish, Maida signed her name on the back of the last page and shoved the stack back at him.
Sure, keep it. Though I can't imagine what you'd want it for.
Oh, well, maybe I'm just one of those weirdos who likes to collect takeout menus. Arthur smiled wryly, and he flipped to the last page of the document to the front in order to make sure that her signature was clear, legible, and to let the ink dry. Maida slid sideways toward the outside of the booth. They knocked knees one last time.
I should probably get back home. My place was broken into yesterday, and I've still got some cleaning up to do.
What? Your place was broken into? Will was back beside the table with abnormal speed. Why didn't you say something sooner? The panicked look on his face was a pretty accurate reflection of the alarm bells going off in Arthur's head.
I don't know. I guess I didn't want you to freak out. I handled it. I changed the locks. There's been a lot of break-ins lately.
Did they take anything? Arthur asked, hoping that they had just taken cash, electronics, or jewelry. These were the sort of things that ordinary thieves tended to take. It would have disturbed him more if they had grabbed nothing.
No, fortunately they took nothing.
She yawned and covered her mouth with a hand.
I have to admit, I stayed up too late reading last night, so I'm also pretty tired. I'm just going to hit the restroom before I go.
You know what? I've got to hit the restroom as well, Will said, putting an arm around Maida's shoulder and steering her toward the back. Wait here, Arthur? Yeah, okay. Arthur nodded. They had no reason to stick around Laguna any longer, but suddenly he was loath to leave. He thought he should at least walk her home, make sure that the break-in was as trivial as she seemed to think. If not, it was his turn to shudder. At least in Primrose Court there were wards to keep people safe. Arthur glanced back down at the drawing, running his finger over the swing. He was doing the right thing, wasn't he? No matter what Director Berman had said about Maida's resiliency, it was safer to resolve the situation without dragging an ordinary innocent into the thick of a magical community in crisis. He pocketed the drawing and stared out the window, watching all the ordinary people out doing ordinary things on an ordinary day. Director Berman had asked Arthur about what might happen if Buffalo had given up his daughter all those years ago. But it was the wrong question, Arthur thought. The question that plagued him more was what if Buffalo hadn't had to make that choice? He and Maida might have grown up side by side, two magical beings living on the same estate. And what then? On the surface of the table, something caught Arthur's attention. An unexpected movement that stirred up microscopic dust and made the air shimmer. He stared down in disbelief at what was happening to Maida's signature. Almost as if it were emerging from a cocoon, a butterfly emerged from the bottom of the first page. First one wing slowly poked up, forming from the letter M, and then another unfurled from the W. Next came the body, antennae, and finally legs, rising and filling in from all the letters in between. By the time the butterfly was whole, the signature line was completely blank. The blue beauty flapped its wings, waving away the wrinkles before attempting to fly. It left a trail of tiny blue dots as it walked off the page. Order up for Arthur Hart! A slight elvish man in a paper's baker's hat called out. Arthur Hart! I'm sorry, did you mean Will Porter? He asked, still staring at the butterfly. No, Will's gone, dude. The elvish baker screwed up his face at Arthur. He and that blonde girl went through the portal like 5 minutes ago, but if you're Arthur, he told me to give you the donuts and left a commercial flight voucher for you. Yay! Welcome, everyone, to Soundbooth Theater Live, a special edition for the release of the Mudpuddle Manual of Natural Magic by Ciara Blume. With me, I have the wonderful Jessica Threet beside me, and the incomparable Andrea Parsneau down below me, and the author of this beautiful magical world herself, Ciara Blume. Hi, ladies. How we doing?
Fabulous.
I want to just start off by thanking all of you for coming and joining today. This has been such a insane, we started this journey getting this book into Soundbooth 8 months ago, maybe, and it has just been an incredible journey ever since. And yeah, I want to thank you all for participating and, joining us here today to celebrate. It's been a long journey, and we are finally here.
Woohoo!
Yeah, any thoughts from any thoughts from you, Ciara, about everything that's come together and, how we're doing?
I just feel so lucky. I see someone in the comments said that it must be amazing hearing your book read by such excellent people. It is truly amazing. I am so grateful to all of you for just doing the book justice. It's kind of like when you write a book, it's kind of your dream to hear people perform it. And you guys just never for a moment have I been disappointed. I've been pinching myself from day one.
Oh my gosh.
In fact, I actually as I'm working on the last book in this series, now I'm hearing you guys in my head. I'm writing.
Yes.
And I hear you. I'm like, oh yeah, that's how Granny Luna would say that, and that's how Rosie would act in this scene.
Yeah, we've had several authors that once working with us is kind of I really didn't before think of how they sound. I mean, it was just sort of you hear it ish in your head, but then once you get to work with some voice actors, it's oh, it kind of comes to life in a new way.
It really does. It's different. It's so interesting because I mean, I had an idea and I gave you guys some direction, which you killed. Like, you know, I wanted a little bit of Jennifer Coolidge and Lucretia, which, oh my God.
We'll get to her later.
We'll get to her later. But oh my God, Jessica, like it just, every time I hear it, I die. And so I had like ideas, but it's not the same. Like I literally hear it in my head now. It's just a little different.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And so, okay, so tell us a little bit more about the world of natural magic, and especially, obviously, starting here with Mudpuddle, and then maybe a little bit of where we're moving to next.
So the world of natural magic, it is like a contemporary fantasy. It is very much the real world. However, I've done a few things with it that people, I don't know if you guys noticed, there's no cell phones and there's no computers in the world. And it's sort of like, you know, 1980, but now, contemporary, modern, real world. And the main character, Maida, has no idea that magic is real. She kind of has always been into magic, but she's grown up without it. And so parallel, there is this magical world. People are divided into ordinaries and magicals. And the magicals could be really anything. Some of them are shifters, some of them are fays, some of them are witches. There's a loud, helicopter.
Yeah, this is the moment where we have to address that is not a fake background. That is just what the back of your house looks like, and we all hate you for it. Just saying.
I don't know about hate. I would say jealous and need to fix it, but I wouldn't say hate.
Yeah, when are we doing the launch party at your house?
Yeah.
You guys are welcome anytime. I would love to have a launch party here.
I want to control your book library that you have. I'm kind of obsessed with it.
Oh
my
yeah.
gosh, yeah. I guess I didn't realize that you had done so. Like, is that how many of you gotten to make? You paint and do the whole thing for these book libraries?
I'm a crafter. So I took an old dollhouse and I made a free. So speaking of mermaids, the second book in the series, one of the characters is a mermaid, and so I was inspired by.
I can see why.
And so I've always wanted a free little library, so I got an old dollhouse, and when I finished my last book, I was like, I need a break. I just need some creative time to paint and to think about what I'm writing next. And so I made a free little library with a mermaid theme.
That's beautiful.
That is so cute. Honestly, like, having gotten to know you even so much better through this process, I'm like, I see why natural magic came so naturally to you. Like, your life is so filled with, like, she has like crow friends that live out back.
I know you live your life through whimsy, and I'm like obsessed with it. I want this for my life. I keep trying to make crow friends with the people with the crows outside of my fire escape. They haven't become my friends yet.
I wish I could take credit. It's actually my daughter who has like invited the crows into our life, and they make a huge mess. But I have to tell you, Ryan, you didn't even hear about this. The crows had babies. We have baby crows.
I haven't gotten pictures yet. I'm dying.
We call them Frederick and Carlos, this couple of crows. And like the weirdest thing is I never thought in my life like I could actually recognize a crow on sight. I'm like, oh, hi, Carlos. Like, they all used to look the same, but now Carlos is like got the sleek back hair, and Frederick's got the like sticky uppy. Anyway, they had babies.
Aww. Well, that's amazing. So I was gonna also ask Andy, before working on this one, had you done much in cozy fantasy before?
Not a ton. Most of the cozy stuff that I've done has been harem adjacent rather than like LitRPG or standard fantasy. So this was like a really unique book for me, and I loved every second of it.
Right?
I kept sending Ryan messages the whole time. I'm like, this is so cute.
I know.
I loved it so much.
Because Jess, you have a series that really popped off. Treachery, Tea. Help me out, sis.
The Tomes and Tea series by Rebecca Thorne. Yes.
Wait, but isn't there something about treachery in one of them?
Oh, can't spell treason without T.
Dang it! Okay, I was so close. I'm so sorry.
You were close. You were super on point.
So you were the lead narrator in that one, and I can't remember. Did you have a co-narrator? Or
no, just me, myself, and Irene.
Okay, amazing. So how did that cozy fantasy compare to this world and like the way that?
I mean, they both definitely have like the fantasy elements in it. That one had, honestly, like the thing that Rebecca Thornley says is that the Tomes and Tea series has a little. Hi, dogs. How are you doing? This is my home.
It's okay, you know, mice, crows, dogs. We accept them all.
Like her books have a little bit higher stakes than your normal cozy fantasy. Like both of the main characters, Kianth and Rena, almost die like in every book, versus like none of that happens normally cozy in other books. Yeah. So it definitely, this one felt a little more chill. I mean, obviously we do have no spoilers, stuff that happens, but you know, I think like it's a little bit more insane. This one felt like way more like chill vibes.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing too, that because before, like, I'd only kind of heard and like done a small foray into cozy. But the thing that I absolutely loved about working on this is that it was all about, like, you know, the beauty of the world that she's created, and then but it isn't one of those things where it's like, I could recommend this to anyone, because it's not like something that goes nowhere. It's like it has this beautiful trajectory for all the characters. The world building is insane. Yeah. It just felt so lived in, and like this made me fall in love. Like, I'm like, I hope I get to do so many more, because it's just like nothing. Like, I don't know if this is a weird way of describing it, but nothing tastes like a cozy fantasy in your in your narration mouth.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm, but no. Like,
one of my favorite things about cozy is the fact that it's not necessarily about. The plot is important, yes, don't get me wrong, but it's mostly about the character and the world developing and the families that are built in the midst of like these stories. Like, at least the ones that I've been a part of, it's always like about like found family and like really like the people you center yourself around and the communities that you grow. And like, I cry probably in just about every cozy fantasy I'm a part of, because like, I'm like, this is so beautiful.
I know. I'm not kidding. Like, a lot, like it takes a lot, especially if I have my like editor or like narrator brain on, where I'm like really assessing everything. It's hard to get me to break through that, but I'm not kidding. Both when I narrated the final chapter of Mudpuddle, and then again when because with the way that we do it for all you viewers at home, like, you know, I will narrate, if I'm the lead narrator, I'll narrate everything and then give like little cue lines of what the other people are eventually going to say. And I'm not kidding you. I had to pause to stop the waterworks while narrating. And then again, when I heard Andy put in her beautiful performance next to Travis's beautiful performance, there's a, you know, I'm not, again, no spoilers or anything, but like beautiful scene with the two of them at the end. I cried my way through the whole thing, like every aspect of it, because it was gorgeous. And then to top it all off, we get gorgeous music by one Guillem Leon, who is this insane human being. He Spanish-born, lives and is studying piano performance in London right now, and I just kind of got a little, you know, bug in my butt to just like send it over to him, and I was like, hey, here's a couple of inspiration pieces. Would you want to take a stab at doing some composition just for like the opening credits and closing credits? And it was so gorgeous that I was like, hey, we've got a few months. What's your next few months looking like, big boy? Like, how you wanna do some real narration? And we ended up with, I think, okay, so here's the thing. This is Jeff lets me run with my ideas here. He was like, okay, but keep it under 20 minutes, you know, of music in the thing. And I'm like, what if I don't? And he was like,
hear me out.
He's like, well, it's coming out of your end then. And I was like, that's fine. So we have about 45 minutes of music throughout the entirety of this 12:45 book. And it is just stunning. All of it is just, it heightens it, and it brings it to this new level where, like, yeah, like I said, it just cracks you emotionally, I think, a little bit better to just hear everything that's going on. And like, yeah, I just, what were some of your thoughts when you first heard the music? Any of you that have heard little snippets of it?
The first time I think I remember writing to you the first time you sent me something, I said, oh my gosh, this is giving me Pushing Daisies vibes. Like, giving me like cozy fantasy, like it has a little bit of a mystery and a magical element to it. Like, I was like, this reminds me of literally the opening segment of Pushing Daisies. Like,
that's so funny. I loved that show.
Me too. I'm so sad we never got the ending we deserved for that show.
Like every couple of years, my daughter and I watch it again. We loved it so much.
It's such a good show.
But yeah, Ciara, what were your thoughts when you were first hearing things?
I was like practically in tears. Like I literally called, I like played it for like my mom. I played it for my kids. I played it for all my friends, and everybody was just like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in a movie theater. I feel like I'm in line at Disneyland." You know, that one of my kids was like, "I feel like I'm about to get on a really good ride."
Yes, and hopefully we are. Hopefully we give them a nice long ride, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the craziest part of the whole thing is that this is really his first, like, outside of doing stuff for himself and for fun, this is his first work composing. And he did it with such grace and handled it with just such professionalism. And I think too that, like, you know, this was one of my first projects in which I was so specifically directing music that just created like this open dialogue. There was no ego involved from anybody. It was just like, I was like, hey, how about like a darker cello sound? And he's like, oh shit, that made it perfect. And and we just like went back and forth that way. And it just, it was so fun. Gosh, you know.
I kept telling you, like, at first when I was hearing the music, if you've seen The Holiday with
yes,
I was like having a rootin' tootin' scrootily dootin' moment where like
that's where they're composing. Yes,
he understood me. He understood my book.
I love that.
Yeah, no, it's special when you hear that. When Ryan sent me the sample of it that had the full music to it and everything, there's this really cool feeling that you get when you hear it all come together for the first time, and those first notes hit your ear and goosebumps break out all over your arms, and you hear the voice start speaking, and then you hear everything come together, and it's just absolutely magical. If you can create that in a moment, nothing beats that. It's transcendent. And that was what I heard the first time that I got sent a sample. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this for me was just like I've had a great opportunity to work with a lot of awesome authors and other voice actors and everything, but there was something about this that just felt like synergy from the first moment. Like the first time I did a read through of Ciara's, I think it wasn't even I don't think it was done yet. It might have been even an earlier draft of the first of the manuscript, but even from there and all the way through, I mean, like, let's just talk about the people that I have, you know, with me here today, between Jessica and Andy, and then the one that we're missing right now, which is a big draw for a lot of folks, is Travis Baldry plays three major characters in this, and the character that you heard me doing earlier today that was not Irish, but the Will character, that's one of Travis's. He also plays this sort of Southern Creole, Louisiana sort of gentleman. That has a certain slickness to him. I'll just say that. And as well as just like the sweetest old 111-year-old wizard that you've ever heard. And it's, you know, and obviously like he has gone from being a prolific narrator to now, would you say, Ciara, the name in Cozy right now? Like,
oh yeah. I mean, he's like the godfather of Cozy, you know, like, you know, I mean, when you say Cozy, like Travis is the name that comes out of people's mouth first. You know, Legends and Lattes is like the gold standard for Cozy.
And what a son of a bitch doing that is first out of the gate. Just how dare he be as talented as he is. He's actually, he sends his best to everyone watching and to all of us here in the call. He's actually doing a writing retreat, and I don't want to misspeak, but I'm pretty sure for his series, I think the third in the series right now, he's doing last edits and stuff like that. But he's up in the mountains getting some riding and hiking in. So you know, as much as we wish he was here with us, I'm happy that he's getting to have like the best time right now. But yeah, but to have the material that you gave us, Ciara, and then to work with Jessica, Andy, Travis, it was like literally a dream come true. Like I said, just a perfect synergy. Every single person that got added to this was just like a perfect dynamic. And so I sort of ran with that with the casting, where it's like this was really a very ensemble piece. I think I have less dialogue lines, or maybe about the same as Travis, and I think between the two of you pretty similar as well, where it's like this is really, it's not like one of those, oh, let's just throw Travis and Andy's name on there because, you know, they're fantastic. Yeah. You know, it's just, no, you had to work for your supper, didn't you, Andy?
I remember Ryan sent me the message, like my average, even when like Irrelevant Jack, I think I had 700 lines. Like it was like, that's the average. Ryan sends me the number and he's like, you only have something like 2,400 in the whole book. So it should be just, it's easy. And it didn't register until I opened the first set. And I was like, oh, I'm a main character. Oh. And
Regret, though?
loved it. It was so great. No, not at all.
Oh my gosh, Andrea,
amazing.
I couldn't believe when I heard you reading the scene where you were both Maida and Amrita. During that one scene. I just was so blown away, like how like seamless that conversation was, and how like in character both, like even though I knew you were reading both characters, like I forgot. And then I would realize it, and then I would forget again 2 lines later, because it was just like so good.
Yeah.
It's so fun because I never have a chance to use that accent for the most part. It's a very rare one. I use it every once in a while for like a side character or something, but it's never one that I get to use for what it is. So it was really nice.
And I even gave her the off-ramp where I was like, so culturally, it would also make sense if you don't quite have that accent, it would also make sense for her to have a British accent. So, and she came in and nailed, like, I was like, oh, never mind, sorry.
I'm going to hit the middle. I'm going to go British Indian.
Yeah, which culturally makes sense, yeah.
She's back in book 2, and just to make it like a little more challenging, there's a scene, because there's time travel in book 2. There's a scene when she's 18.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ooh, that'll be fun. That'll be a fun challenge. That's the one thing that I love about this work, and especially where we are in fantasy, especially fantasy, lit RPG, this entire kind of bubble. It's really unique to fantasy, especially. People can have 7 voices in a series. They can be in a different body. There can be time travel. There can be massive character developments. There's these things. So I absolutely love it, because it's the Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny thing where they're imitating each other. You got to get real good at that as a fantasy narrator. It's like, okay, I need you to do that voice 30 years ago. Okay, now I need you to make it a dude instead, because they had a sex change. It's a whole thing with magic. Don't worry about it. Just make it a dude.
Oh my gosh. I've done that. I've had to do a character that literally has a sex change in a book. I went, what? But only for that book, but only because they were portal jumping, and in one of the worlds, you reverse your gender. And I went,
sure.
What? Okay,
why not?
Here we go.
And it's old school too. Elminster had that happen. Like Elminster was a lady for a while, because like it is established in fantasy that there's going to be multiple voices for the same character. And it's a pressure.
That's what makes it a blast, right? I mean, like there's nothing more exciting than getting to like switch and dive into all these characters like this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll love a modern romance or something like that, but like you just don't get that deep character stuff, and nobody does a range like Andy, like in terms of like when you give her an orc and she'll come back with the fiercest general orc or orc general, I mean.
I had a blast getting to work, because this was only the second time I'd gotten to work with Ryan, and it was the first time I'd gotten to work with Jessica, and I was super excited because Jessica and I had never met before. I'd never worked with her. So it was like the first time her voice came across. It's in one of the scenes you guys are going to hear tonight, and I'm like, oh, this bitch brought it. All right, fine.
Exactly.
All right, fine. You're going to choose violence? All right, I'll play too. It was so much fun. Like, she was so fabulous. I'm like, oh, yes. Any actor can tell you nothing feels better than a great actor on the other end that you're acting against. Because it's just, oh, yes, I can scene chew. I can act. Got this. So I was pumped.
I'll ask you,
everybody in there. It was great.
Yeah, I'll ask you, Ciara, with hearing all of these, because we're all big people in, like personality, acting, and everything. Yeah. Was there anything that what you heard that maybe surprised you, or like any kind of characters that maybe came out even like, a little beyond what you thought, but you're like, well, okay, we'll go with it,
Bigger than
I mean, yeah, I do feel like Granny Luna was definitely, I mean, I knew she was a big character, but she came out even bigger, and I was there for it completely.
That was Ryan. Ryan was like, okay, I'm just going to make this clear, Andy. I know who I'm talking to, and I'm going to make this very clear. You cannot go too big. You can't. So just swing for the fences.
That's exactly what he said with Lucretia for me.
And I was just going to say, and Lucretia. And honestly, I do feel like both of those, they were secondary characters, but they were secondary characters with a lot of character. And, you couldn't overact them, but they came out perfect. Chef's kiss, both of them.
I couldn't agree more. Like, yeah,
the character acts itself when it's written that way. Like, it was great. It was, I didn't have to work around anything or anything. It was fabulous. I just got to spit out the lines in that character's voice, and it was like, all right, sweet, this is great. So,
but also, Ryan, your interpretation of Arthur, I kind of in my head, I was like, I want him to have an Irish accent. I forget what I had listened to, but something where there was an Irish accent.
Something with Colin Farrell, probably.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Colin Farrell. But it was somebody. I think it was an audio narrator, and I was like, very sexy Irish accent. And I was like, I needed to give Arthur something a little sexy, but I love the way you did it because, it is cozy fantasy. It's not like, full on romance. And you gave him like just enough of a sexy Irish accent, but like also he's a dad, and that's cool. Like it's both. And it was just like, a well-balanced character. It was so good.
Well, thank you. I mean,
dude, no, we get to talk about this for a second because we need to address Arthur, Daddy Arthur, because holy crap, like I am going through a section and there's an interaction with Maida and Arthur regarding Arthur's kid, right? I'll leave it at that. There's an interaction regarding Arthur's kid, and the flip from this sexy Irish, but not too sexy, kind of broken, but at the same time really kind and loving. Like this dude who you're just falling in love with through the book, and he's kind of soft spoken but strong. And this interaction happens, and when I tell you Ryan flips 180 in that character, completely in the character still, and turns into a dad, into a full stop. No, we don't talk about this. You don't have a right to. You're going to leave this alone. And I'm sitting there as the person getting talked to, and I'm like, fair play. All right, I'll leave it alone. It was so good. Like, you embodied Arthur so freaking well. Like, it was phenomenal. So, no, we needed to talk about that for a second because it was so good.
The other thing we need to talk about with Ryan for a second are the, interstitials between the chapters. So there's like little bits of other books from the world. We have like the Gentleman Shapeshifter's Guide, the Metamorphic Man, which is like a guide for shapeshifters, how to be gentlemen. And then we have the Arcane Elite, Purity Witch Bloodline book.
The racist one.
Yeah. And then we have the Mudpuddle, which is like the naturalist. And so these are very different tasting books, like very different flavors. And Ryan injected each of them with a character, especially the Arcane Elite one, which is the snooty one. I mean, every time I hear the start of a chapter with that voice, that snooty voice, I just want to cry. I'm laughing.
It's not very often that I like really hear something that I do and it like cracks me up. But there was one that Ciara and I talked to each other back for it. I won't tell you what chapter, but when you pick up the book, you'll listen to, it's the very first word of the chapter after like chapter such and such. And then we go into the Arcane Elite, and I don't know what it was. I think it was that I was recording late at night. But the first word is like, cats, though, are good for this type of companion. And I gave that thing 3 syllables. That first word, I said, cats, while they are. And that was take 1, and I went, well, that's staying.
Perfect.
There's one where you like lead with a sigh. You're like,
oh, Ryan's mic work with sighing and thinking noises and just good God. Okay, so this is a message for everybody in the chat, anybody in rewatch, anybody who is watching this. If you have not heard Ryan narrate a book yet, you're missing out. No joke. Go get one because it is a treat to have. Like this one especially because it's phenomenal. Like Ryan is a treasure for narration, much less character acting. Like just character acting, of course, he's amazing, but he is one of the most captivating narrators I have heard in so long. Like,
dude,
it's unbelievable. Absolutely.
Well, should we hear a little bit more narration? Do we want to do another scene for folks?
Oh, but I just like pumping you up. I think that was
that's why I'm switting because I think all red in the face now.
Talking about how awesome Ryan, Ciara, and Jessica are. I like this idea.
Do we want to go? Okay, so do you want to grab a little funny one? We could hit chapter 4, or we were talking about how Andy had to earn her earn her stripes going back and forth. Do we want to do the granny? Actually, you know what? I've made my decision. I'm so sorry. We're doing chapter 4 because I want to get Jessica in here.
Yeah, I want to play with Jessica.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so I will start us out, and everyone on cell 646. We ready? Awesome. The angry customer slammed the candle down on the cafe counter so hard that Maida worried the glass counter would shatter. Despite being seated at a small metal bistro table a few feet away, Maida bent forward to clutch her open notebook and shield the locket she was sketching.
I demand a full refund.
The woman's voice had the traumatized tones of a tea kettle whistle.
This candle didn't work.
Maida resumed her detailed sketch of the locket she had found during her morning walk on the beach. She went out most mornings, but as a naturalist, rainy days like today were her favorite. The coast seemed most alive just after a storm.
First, my beach yoga class gets canceled for bad weather, and now you're going to give me a hard time?
The customer complained loudly. Her left eyelid twitched. Maida couldn't focus. She considered moving to a table outside on the deck, but it was still quite windy, and the space heaters weren't turned on in the rain. She had been lucky to get one of the few spots inside. With the windows cracked, she could still smell the ocean air, but she didn't have to freeze. She was grateful for the cozy warmth of the coffee shop after spending the whole morning outdoors.
I should have known better than to buy a candle from a cafe.
The woman confided loudly to the disinterested jogger who was waiting for his post-run drink. She was wearing expensive workout clothing and a watch that Maida recognized as costing more than some people's cars. Maida's father had a similar watch, and he wasn't so happy either.
What's wrong with the candle?
Addie, the pretty young barista, asked. Addie lived in the same apartment complex as Maida, but the two women were barely acquaintances. Maida was 35 and a recluse, and Addie was a 23-year-old socialite. They had nothing in common besides their address. But in that moment, it was enough. Addie was desperately seeking some solidarity. She shot Maida an unmistakable, exasperated look that said,
"Can you believe this, wench?"
Naturally, the angry customer clocked the silent exchange. The older woman's gaze swept over Maida like a rough, bristled broom. Maida knew how the woman saw her. She sensed the stock-taking. The woman could forgive the messy bun at this hour, but no makeup, no manicure, no jewelry, no obvious brand names on her shapeless grayish clothing. She sneered at Maida's tide pool-friendly foam clogs before dismissing her. Objectively, Maida knew that there wasn't anything wrong with the way she looked. She wasn't ugly. Some might even call her striking. Her unusual violet gray eyes and the bright, fluffy mass of wavy platinum hair lent an almost ethereal effect. Her hair and eyes caught people's attention. But not for long. She was like the shiny, colorful rocks at the shoreline, which, upon closer inspection, turned out to be nothing special at all. And that was just fine with her. She was happy to blend in. Not everyone needed to be a rock star. I'm going to skip forward just a little because we've gotten a lot of Ryan yappage.
I wouldn't call it yappage, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was enjoying it. Trying to be that way.
You know what? No, actually, fine. If we liked it, then we'll keep going.
Yeah,
Maida squirmed in her seat. Gritty sand was still lingering between her toes, and she gave her right foot a little shake, pretending she had noticed nothing. That woman and her problem were none of Maida's business. She went back to drawing, adding in subtle shading to the bit of kelp she had sketched at the beach. A shocking amount of trash, plastic, plant matter, and other debris had washed ashore last night in the squall. Fall storms did a lot of damage. Maida had tried to help clean up the mess, taking photos of interesting bits of driftwood and natural debris along the way. And as a reward, the ocean had surprised her with an unexpected gift. She might have missed the vintage locket hidden inside a clump of kelp if a sneaker wave hadn't intervened. The unlikely wave had swept the bundle up the beach, dragging and tumbling it until it tangled itself around her ankles. If it hadn't been for that random wave, Maida would have never found it. That made it feel a little less random, actually. Like fate. She liked to tell herself these sorts of stories when strange things like this happened, which was pretty often. She was constantly finding lost items and reading people's minds. Sometimes she thought she saw things in the shadows that weren't really there. Her father had always said that she had an overactive imagination when she was growing up. This had always felt more like an accusation than a compliment. At first, she had unwrapped the kelp. Maida thought that she was looking at a silvery shard of abalone. People talk about finding lost jewelry at the beach all the time, but it never happened to her. She almost couldn't believe it when she turned the freed locket over in her hand. It had the same greenish-black color as the seaweed that had concealed it. The chain had tarnished, sea scale and crusty buildup coated the exterior. But it was still beautiful.
Am I getting my money back or not?
Maida was trying to concentrate on her sketch, but the scuffle at the counter wasn't over, and it was too big of a distraction.
What exactly is the problem with it?
Addie examined the candle skeptically.
You've obviously used it, so it works.
Addie's voice trailed off in a question that was not really a question.
But not as advertised.
The older woman glared at the pretty, young, blonde barista.
I lit that thing every night for a week. 0 dates. Not a love.
I don't know what to say. It's an intention candle. It doesn't work like ordering a pizza.
Obviously.
The woman rolled her eyes.
When I order a pizza, 9 times out of 10, I get a man ringing my doorbell.
Maida bit her lip, trying not to laugh.
There were directions on the box for performing a ritual.
Addie spoke in a bored monotone. She turned to stir some steamed milk into another customer's drink.
Did you remember to set your intention before you lit the candle?
Are you kidding me?
The woman blinked more rapidly as her ire increased.
Do you think I need help with lighting a candle?
Addie refused to be intimidated. She spoke slowly, as if she were addressing a small child.
I don't know. Do you remember to plug your toaster in before you try to make toast? How do you expect an intention candle to work if you don't set an intention?
Addie leaned back, brows raised, arms folded across her chest. Maida was pretty sure this was only going to make matters worse.
I'm pretty sure you set the intention for me when you ran my credit card. What I intended was for the candle to work. I certainly didn't intend for it to make my whole cottage stink like a whorehouse.
She pursed her artificially plumped lips at Addie, who was barely paying attention now. She had gone back to putting the finishing touches on a drink.
White chocolate latte for Todd?
Addie called out. The angry woman's sour expression vanished when a middle-aged man stepped forward to fetch his drink. She smiled alluringly and cheerfully handed his drink to him. But as soon as he departed, she resumed her campaign.
So, do I need to speak to your manager?
She glanced around hopefully, waiting to see who might rush to her aid.
I'm not going anywhere till you give me my money back.
Whatever. It's cool. I'll get you a refund.
Addie sighed, capitulating as quickly and completely as she had resisted.
I believe you. Between you and me, next time you should invest in Natural candles. I don't know what they put in their products, but I swear they are the only ones that work for me.
She leaned in conspiratorially.
They aren't sold in stores, but I can hook you up. I'm a rep and I just got a big shipment in.
Well, that was bold of Addie. Reckless, too, given the recent rash of break-ins attributed to the theft of the coveted products. It was all over the news. Locals were blaming immigrant gangs for the robberies. Supposedly, many Natural products fetched more money on the black market than street drugs.
No thanks. I think I'll stick with the pizza.
Yay! Oh, that's awesome. See, one of the things that, Jessica, you have such a beautifully wide range of characters within you. How, the ages, like from everything. Like, did you? So tell people a little bit, like your background and like where you like started acting and things, because like where do you pull from to get all these ladies?
Trauma. No, I'm kidding.
Join the club, sis.
I mean, I'm the eldest of 6 siblings. So I've been reading to my little siblings books since I can remember. I read them the Harry Potter series growing up, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, all these fantasy series growing up, and I, wanted to entertain my siblings, so I did crazy voices. And I think one of my biggest things was, since I can remember, I was imitating other people, like listening to like various characters in the cartoons and the movies that I watched, and then I would repeat them and copy them. Like I remember doing Hermione's voice growing up, Jennifer Coolidge, obviously, which was why this was hilarious when I got that note to do that. I was like, oh, I've been dreaming of this moment for my life. And just I've enjoyed that. And then when I got to high school, I got into my first musical and I got the bug and have always wanted to act and nothing else since.
And Andy, tell me, I can't remember what was your origin into acting?
Oh, it's a long board. No, I've always been a ham bone. But I was an actor back in school. Went to college after a whole bunch of like random jobs that were not suited. I went back to school after some events in my life, and I went for vocal, like singing. That was what I was in school for. And I found out I hated classical singing with a fiery burning passion, but they had a voiceover program. And then I realized that I could go do that. And I had a friend who was an author, Will D'Errand, and he said, hey, why don't you try narration? I think you'd be really good at it. And I had been reading pages for people on Fiverr. You could pay $5 and I'd read a page. The rate's gone up since then, but I would read but it was on like a crappy LG microphone. Like it was one of those stick ones that had like a stand on your desk. Like,
yes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It was awful. But I was doing that on Fiverr back when I was like 22. So I've always known there was something here, but I did not realize until several events occurred that this was even a job. Did not know it existed. So once I did, I was like, got it. This is what I'm meant for. So
what about you, Ryan?
I don't know about what.
Yeah, you, Ryan.
Well, I was gonna. Well, I will come back to it. But like I don't know about you two, but I think that like this career path in narration is simultaneously the easiest and the hardest. And I will say, because it is the easiest, because if you put in the work, there is a clear path toward being able to at least get yourself some side gigs and to create like a side hustle. And if you really dig in, you can make a career out of it. Now, the hard part is that you are the workhorse of the artistic world. Yes. I don't think anybody works the hours that we do as narrators, truly.
No, it's the most consistent, but it's also the most challenging. Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
And there's plenty of VOs who try it, and they hate it. Like narrators are a specific breed. There's plenty of VOs who try doing narration and it is mind-numbing for them. Just like there's plenty of, game writers who try to write a book and it's like, oh man, it's a lot harder when you write the whole thing. So Ciara's heard the same thing from her branch, I'm sure. So
the three of you are so unique because you all share one thing in that you all can act and you can narrate. And I think that that's really rare and really unique in, a voiceover actor and a narrator for a book. I mean, I have to say, like when I found Ryan, I worked with him on one of my rom-coms. I probably listened to more than 150, close to 200, demos, just going through trying to find someone to read my book. I'm like super, super picky. And maybe that's because I have like a little tiny bit of theater background.
Well, you must have been holding back because working with you through this process was a dream. You were,
so maybe knows quality when she hears it, Ryan.
I know quality, and I trust you. I trust you, like both, like your ear, your vision, like, and it's rare. And like I said, I listened to so many people, and I was like, that guy has got something. He knows how to just inject the right personality into a scene. And I will say, like, from the author perspective, when I had auditions for that first book. I mean, the things that came back were funny.
And not in the way you wanted them to be.
Not funny. Like it was a rom-com, but the comedy of the auditions that I got back was like a whole other level. You know, it just like really old people auditioning to be like, you know, 20 something. Like, it was fun to listen to.
Yeah. I'll say that, like, you know, to loop back into how I got started and everything, I will say I'm still really working on, and like, you know, I have such a love for the narration, but it didn't come nearly as easily as the dialogue and the character acting as that did for me. You know, because like I don't ever try to put too much pressure on myself, but it really is like you are taking these words, and when you put them to audiobook, you are deciding at every moment for 10 to 15 to 25 out, you know, however long, you're deciding how that tone is interpreted for someone, because when you're reading, you get to insert your own interpretation. So there's a little bit of like consideration that has to, not just a little, but you know, consideration that has to go into the exact tone that's going to be right for this book. And I don't think that you can rely on a narrator voice for every project you do. You've got to, so it's nuts that you're doing something that you're committing to for hours, and you know, but yeah, so I mean, I did start as an acting major and thought, you know, I was going to go and take Broadway on, and then about halfway through college I was like, no, I'm going to go out to LA and be the next whoever. And yeah, then by crazy way of doing some film directing and that sort of thing, started working with kids a lot more. On the very first project that I had first directed and produced, there was a young actor who was about 9 years old, and I just fell in love with getting to work with someone with that level of imagination. Like, I kind of forgot that I could imagine that deeply, and to be able to access that, then I started nannying, and like after I'd worked with that kid, and I was like, I just want to work with, you know, kids more so that I can, in a creative space, work with them even better. So I was like, well, you know, Papa needs to eat, so let's do a job where I can work with kids, and that became one of the greatest joys of my life. It was being a nanny for about 7 years, and yeah, the two kind of came together in, like, you know, like you were talking with your siblings, Jess, that I would read books to the kids every night, and I'm so against yelling at kids. You know, there's no real need for that, and so
you sing at them.
Yes, exactly. Or, you know, you can be a British butler that needs the children to shut up, you know, and then they will listen to you and not, you know, feel attacked or looked down upon, or yeah. And so yeah, then I just it started kind of like the balance shifted, where the kids that I was nannying were getting older and they needed me less, and I was getting more gigs in narration and that sort of thing. And it's just now, this too has become one of the greatest joys, is being able to do this every day.
Yeah.
But Ciara, I was wondering if you could talk to us, because I know, like, the people listening and everything have heard a very outside in on the story. Take us through some of these characters that we've been introduced with, and just, you know, give us your run through a little more of Mudpuddle. Like, what are we going to be encountering here?
So you're going to be encountering Maida, who was she had a very privileged upbringing, grew up very wealthy, you know, on a compound, very sheltered, and sort of broke away from that, went off to live on her own. She's kind of arty, farty, like, you know, sketches. She doesn't have a very realistic life, because she's got, you know, a trust fund, but she's very proud of, you know, building her own life and living on her own and living independently. We've got Will Porter, who's super whimsical. I love Travis's read on him. He's very, very whimsical, and he is an assistant to Maida's dad. So he was an intern, and he works for Maida's dad. Maida's dad's name is Buffalo, which is not a coincidence, because turns out he's a big guy. Turns out, when we find out magic is real, that Buffalo is a buffalo shifter. But
I love it so much.
Yeah. That's the thing too that I think you capture. So I'm just going to cut it in there just for a second, but it's like you have the such serendipitous and perfect nomenclature for everything, where it has that whimsy where it's like, of course his name's Buffalo and he's a buffalo shifter, because it's just like, that's the world. It's just it's so cute and wonderful. I just I can't tell everyone enough how much I just fell in love with this, and like could have put hours and hours of more into it, and will, you know, as we are now in pre-reads for book 2.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Will is anyway. He's a half fae porter, and what that means
What does
is
a porter
that
do? Yeah.
he can open portals
Mm-hmm.
and transport, from place to place through these portals. And the thing is, when you're a porter, you can carry one person at a time on your back, physically,
like
through the
piggyback
portal,
style.
Piggyback style.
You think that they'd come up with some sort of
spider monkey?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very old fashioned way to travel, but porters can only bring what they can carry through the portal with them, and usually that's only one person. Which I had so much fun writing the scene where Will carries Arthur through the portal,
Yes.
and it's like I don't even know, like the whole idea of the piggyback thing came to me as I was writing that scene, and I was like, this is so funny.
Yes.
Like these guys just like piggybacking through like the oblivion together.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Will is a whimsical character, and I love him so much, and he's really in book 2 like way more, because he's the main character in book 2. And there's just a lot of, I honestly don't know where it came from, but I am a naturalist. I'm a certified naturalist. I'm a California certified naturalist, Catalina Island certified naturalist, and I spent a lot of time during the pandemic studying nature. And I've always been like super woo and super magical. I love tarot. I love crystals. I love, like all that stuff. And it all kind of came together for me. I think that nature is magical. Like, I don't think you have to make it magical. It already is magical. It's magical that birds migrate. It's magical that I can look out my window every once in a while and see dolphins and whales. How crazy is that? It's just like they're there. They're actually there. So I get a lot of joy and whimsy from the world, and I tried to put that all back in and put that in. But I will also say, I don't know, I actually have here, like I have these are the books that I collected as a child.
Like, there you go.
Oh my God.
That's so cute.
Maida's little house, Maida's little shop. I was like a super nerdy child, so I was the youngest. I mean, that's what you have to be a writer, I think. But I was the youngest of 4 by many years. My brothers were like 16 and 13 years older than me, and my parents had a house in upstate New York that they were renovating constantly throughout my childhood. And they drag me along, and they go to yard sales, and they say, okay, like, here's $5, get whatever you want. And finding these orange books was like my treasure hunt. And I collected this whole series of like Maida books. And it turns out the woman who wrote them, Inez Haynes Irwin, was like this really revolutionary figure. She actually was a journalist, and she was a suffragette, and she traveled the world, and she wrote adult books too. She actually wrote a science fiction novel in like 1940 that was like very groundbreaking. So she just was an interesting character. And I went through and I pulled character names and characters. So Buffalo is a character. He's the dad. He's Maida's dad in these books. I
love that.
So I mean, it's different. Yeah, it's very different. But I did, like, Arthur's a character, Rosie's a character. They're not the same.
No, but you like pulled from your childhood, and that feels so real. Like, and that you would have done that, and because one thing like that I noticed in your writing too that is it's just so palpable, and the way, like, okay, so for example, one of Jessica's characters, Rosie, the type of shifter, the type of animal that she shifts into, people don't really believe in, and they don't think that it's possible for her to do this, and she's very embarrassed by it, and she finds solace in one of Andy's characters, who is quickly becoming a sort of mother figure to her. And I don't know if this was intentional from what you did, but it for me as a gay person, it came across as such a heartfelt homage and to the coming out process, in a way that you are able to put yourself into Rosie's shoes, or maybe if you were that person that Maida was to Rosie, that you were able to capture that in such a way that it is not overbearing, it is not overly, it is there for those that like need that little bit of yes.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for the way that you wrote that, and that I mean, was that your intention with what was going on there, or
it really was my intention. I mean, I didn't want it. I think there's a lot of LGBTQ fiction right now that like really kind of like is in your face, and that's fine. But that wasn't what I wanted this to be, like something that everyone could relate to, and everyone could relate to, like the emotions and that feeling of like being a little bit different and being a little, you know, confused and not knowing like who you can tell and who you can trust with your secrets, or you're not even sure really who you are. I think it is a very universal type of emotion and situation that people go through regardless, but especially
we all have parts of ourselves that we're scared to share.
Yeah, we all so I wanted it to be something that everybody could relate to. As it happens, Rosie is gay, so she's fully out in book 3.
Let's go. Spoilers. Gay spoilers.
like it's not a secret, but in that particular scene and in this book and in building her character, I didn't want it to necessarily be about that. I wanted it to be about more, just about her as a whole person and as a whole shifter and what it is that she does. And, you know, the fact that I won't spoil what she is, but like the type of shifter that she is has a lot more significance in book 3. There's a great meaning for it, and that's really what it's all about. Oh, I'm having so much fun with it. I don't want to give it away though.
Oh my gosh, yes. So yeah, we go from this world where this staple of the magical community, the Mudpuddle bookshop, is attacked in a way that, with the magical wards around it, makes the house disappear out of its own, you know, safety and protection. And so Arthur, one of my characters, Maida, Rosie, everyone is tasked with finding what happened to it. So we've got these excellent aspects of mystery as well. There's a character that we don't know what happened surrounding his untimely demise. So there is it's a murder mystery on top of it in a way. And it all just, it lives in this place that like is just so real to each of the characters and their experiences, and it's beautiful. And so once we find a little more about what happens to the Mudpuddle and how we can bring it back, how all of this happens and how all of these worlds intertwine so beautifully, by the way, where does it go next? Where once if they do get the Mudpuddle back, what happens? Where do we go into book 2? Are we following the same timeline? Where are we going?
Book 2 happens shortly. Like, it really picks up where book 1 leaves off. However, there is time travel in book 2.
Amazing.
And Maida's best friend, Zani, who's been calling her throughout book 1, who's like off on an adventure. She's got the bloodstone amulet of Catherine de Medici. Is like that's her prize that she's been trying to get. She's like a magical archaeologist adventurer. She's for hire. She goes and finds things. So this is just like her holy grail. She's been trying to get this thing for years, and she has finally got it, and she is bringing it back to the arcane archives, and something goes wrong. Something goes wrong. It disappears. I'll just say it disappears impossibly. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And she gets back, and Will is there, and Will's always had a crush on her. He just thinks she's so cool. So he's like golden retrievering her.
Oh yeah.
Love it. And he wants to help her, and she ends up getting stuck because they're like, we need you to stay here and go through the arcane archives and like be the curator, since Maida's new to all of this. And she's like, no, I need to travel. I need to go find that stone. Anyway, that's where it starts. They end up time traveling. They go on a wild adventure through time, through space, Baltimore in the 70s. I don't know why, but like, I needed this. And it all comes back around. But there's 2 new characters. One is Andaloon, who is an aging film star who's not aging normally. She was a 1920s film star who somehow only looks like she is like 60 to 70. and has to reinvent herself periodically because people are like, why are you not older? You know, but she has a allergy to water. She gets a scaly rash.
I wonder where that mermaid character comes in.
So she has a magical awakening, discovering what she really is. And then there is tied to the stone an ancient vampire named Cosimo. Well, I can't wait to see what we do with him.
I might be claiming that one for myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, we go to Versailles, the court in Versailles. We go to Baltimore in the 70s. We go to the court.
Is for promo. We need to cosplay in the 70s,
and
go
travel,
to Baltimore, and then go to Versailles, right?
Honestly, I'm down for some vacations. I've been in my booth for far too long. Let's go to Versailles. How do we feel about that, ladies?
That's fine. When do you want to go? When do we want to go?
I am having a come as your favorite character party here in California.
So
really cool, a really cool cafe. So
that's
great. You guys will have to come hang out.
I would love that. Any excuse to come to California. Oh no, Disney.
I know. And Jessica and I have a mutual best friend that lives out in California that just moved out there. So maybe we will actually make little. No, but yeah, I couldn't. I want to reiterate, I couldn't be happier with having gotten to work with all three of you amazing women. Gosh, I really hope that all of you that are listening out there give it a chance, because it's
so cool. It really is. Like it's
really been a blast.
Like what you were saying, Ciara, earlier about like, you know, you find joy and whimsy in your life and you wanted to infuse that into your book. It really does like shine through so much.
It does.
And it's just so beautiful. And I love that outlook in life. I want to do that more.
Yes. You really, all of the characters and their occupations and things, you really like represent all of like the in the dirt and bug girlies from the child, you know, like the ones that are out there that think that the bugs are so cute, and that like a magical archaeologist, like I'm getting swept away, and
it's like the most bad A Indiana Jones.
Yes. And I'm like, and my favorite thing too is that you've created a whole like magical curse and swearing system, so that this really is a book for all ages. Like, what the heck, you know? And it's great. I think that you have come across something without being too cliche, totally magical for everyone that would give this thing a listen. And I think that that's why it was such a synergy to work on, because anyone that reads your words and then hears how we interpreted them can create music that's so beautiful and can do like it was easy, you know, because of just what you created for us. So thank you.
Yeah, take it from a bunch of people who read books for a living. It's a really good book.
Well, thank you so much. That means so much to me. You have no idea.
Well, ladies, I want to know if we have maybe one more scene in us, and then we can wrap it up with that one and give everyone a farewell. Or does anyone have anywhere they need to be real quick?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, awesome.
So I'm yours for the evening.
Well, we'll have to turn off the live stream.
Yes, I'm absolutely down for another scene.
Because they're not getting what we're going to do for free.
This is great.
Do I need to go get popcorn or room?
Should I
popcorn, a riding crop, whatever you want to bring.
All right, which
so
cell are we starting at?
Let's go with cell 7543. My dyslexia was popping out there. 7543.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, got it. Oh, I apologize for jumping on your lines before, Ryan. It took me a minute to figure out to click the cell so I could see the entire line, not just the first preview. I was like,
well, and that's also not your fault. We've been working on trying to get the way that those cells line up and things a little better, but
nah, you're doing good. As long as you click it, like, you know, you're supposed to, then it's fine. I just didn't do my part in that. So I wanted to apologize for stepping on your toes.
Oh, no.
Oh, real quick, I was a part of Wriggly Little Hands. So you said the thing about, have you done Cozy Fantasy? And I forgot Wriggly Little Hands. I was a character in that, and I didn't want to be a dick and completely gap out that I was in that. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay, because I also don't know if I would.
I don't really
classify
consider
that
it
as
cozy.
No, neither do I. It's such an
The chat said
adventurous.
it was, so I was like,
Oh.
"Oh, I should say something because I don't want to be a jerk." I was in that one. I just didn't consider it cozy. So okay,
Yeah,
that was it.
Fair, fierce. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 75-43.
You tell them, boys.
I swear you're going as fast as you go on that blasted K-bike, Arthur complained. Normally it would be no effort to keep up with his daughter, but she was really racing. Plus, he was carrying two heavily laden suitcases tucked under his arms now, rather than hassling with the new ways that the wheels kept catching on the cobblestones.
Speaking of which, when can I have my bike back?
Next week. And you'll need to promise me you won't forget your helmet again. Rosie made a sort of sound that told Arthur that it didn't sound that promising.
Almost there again. Hello.
Jemmy.
Almost there, Jimmy.
Rosie was talking to her cat.
See those shops through the trees? It's at the end of that block. That big house on the corner with the porch that looks like the helm of a pirate ship.
She stuck a finger into the cage to touch her cat's nose.
Oh, we're gonna have so much fun. Make so many new friends there. Even if it's only temporary. And Dad's being such a doom druid about it.
Arthur heard the wistful tone in Rosie's voice and cringed. He could empathize with how she felt. Always an outsider. There weren't any other magical kids with magical heritage in the ordinary high school she was attending. She had friends, but none that she would stay in touch with once she graduated. All of her true friends were here in Primrose. He considered the fact, yet again, that in just 2 short years his daughter would likely be gone from his daily life. His influence on her was waning daily. The least he could do was make the most of the time they had left together. I'll put out the word and seriously start looking to find a place here, Ro. It will probably be smaller than our apartment. And that part was going to be more of a problem for him than her. He was already using their dining room table as his office. But if he could find anything in Primrose, he would make it work, at least for the next couple of years.
I thought you said it's hard to get a place in Primrose.
Rosie eyed him with suspicion. Now that he was finally giving in, her eyes were guarded. And that was on him. He'd only just told her not to get her hopes up, hadn't he? Arthur set one of the cases down on the sidewalk as they exited the park. He ran a hand through his hair. Things tend to turn up and get snatched up quickly, but it's easier if you're already living here. I'm not sure. I am sure that we can figure something out, if it's that important to you.
Sure.
Rosie shrugged and her chin wobbled again.
We'll see.
Her feigned nonchalance hurt his heart. How many times had he done the same, pretending he didn't care about all the things that mattered the most? The apple didn't fall far from the tree. It doubled his resolve to make this happen for Rosie. A few moments later, they paused at the corner outside of the gate to the Mudpuddle.
We're home, Jimmy!
Rosie exclaimed, holding up the cat carrier for Gemini to get a better view.
Home for now, anyway.
She glanced back at Arthur, cautiously, amending her statement.
Isn't she beautiful?
Gemini responded with an enthusiastic meow.
But something's different. The plants are all different. There's so many flowers. Everything looks more colorful. Did somebody paint?
It was quite the transformation. The house had simply slipped into a new color scheme, like it was putting on a dress. Oh, the house painted itself. And I think Maida has a way with plants. He thought he had never seen the Mudpuddle look more welcoming. However, a moment later, when he saw the new proprietress stepping out onto the porch, he completely revised that thought. Maida was luminous in the morning sunshine. Her silver-white hair glowed like a halo. She tucked a strand behind her ear and smiled at him, raising her hand in a shy half-wave. She was wearing a simple gray knit dress and an old-fashioned apron that, like an artist's smock. It had large pockets in the front, and Arthur could make out a book, possibly her sketchbook, in one of them. On anyone else, this ensemble might look frumpy, but Maida somehow made it her own. There was something that was both endearing and wickedly challenging about that many buttons and ties, like a thoughtfully wrapped present. Maida looked down at him from the top of the stairs, snaring his eyes with her own. He wondered if she had read his mind as she wrapped the strings of her apron back around to her front and tied them securely at her waist. She didn't seem angry. A small smile played at her lips. Rosie sat the cat carrier down at the top step and ran to throw her arms around Maida, nearly bowling her over in one of her signature Rosie-style hugs. Arthur so rarely got to experience those hugs these days. The last time he had had the honor was when the Mudpuddle reappeared. He couldn't recall the time before.
Oh, thank you so much for letting us stay here, Maida. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know how we can ever make this up to you. Whatever you need help with, I'm willing to work. I'll bake cookies, wash the floors, shelf books, whatever you need.
My goodness.
Maida seemed a little overwhelmed by Rosie, which was not surprising.
That's quite a greeting. But I think you've got it wrong. You and your dad are doing me a favor, not the other way around.
Oh, it's a privilege to stay here with you while you get things settled. Arthur set down the suitcases on the front porch. It was the truth. Staying at the Mudpuddle was every magical child's fantasy, and he was sure more than a few adults as well. Staying there with Maida only made it more so.
Please, stay as long as you like.
Maida relaxed a bit and patted Rosie's back now.
This place is enormous.
Oh, thanks for letting me bring Jemmy too.
Rosie said, remembering the cat now. She lifted the carrier for Maida to see the cat. Gemini stared out at Maida with a sphinx-like calm.
Oh, what a beauty!
When Maida bent forward to greet her, the normally impassive cat blinked lovingly at her.
She won't be any bother. She's
Rosie.
very clean, and I look after her.
Yes. Well, I keep thinking I'm seeing a mouse in there.
Maida gestured back towards the house.
Maybe Gemini can scare it away?
She glanced up at Arthur, who had now reached the top step. As he reached for the banister, his hand grazed hers. She met his eyes again. There was still something burning there, some white spark of curiosity in the gray. He wasn't imagining it, was he? He reached into the pocket of his overcoat and pulled out a bottle of champagne with a blue bow. It was a rare vintage, dating back to the year they had first met as children. It had been a bit extravagant, given his meager salary. He didn't know if she would notice, but he hoped she would.
You know, I think I'm gonna like it here, Arthur.
She moved her hand closer to his and smiled shyly.
Who wouldn't?
Rosie enthused. It was then that Arthur understood that Rosie wasn't the only one in danger of getting their hopes up.
Woo!
Well, if the cat doesn't kill the mouse, the dogs that came in the background. Sure.
It's like the children's story. The spider to eat the mouse to eat the cat.
Exactly.
To eat the yes.
My dogs are so loud. We have an Australian Shepherd and a Pomeranian. They are the loudest dogs ever. Do you want to see that? Do you want to see Maisie? Maisie will come up here for a yell.
Yes, absolutely.
Maisie!
Hey, can you go get your crows out from the back too while we're at it? Everyone just go grab your menagerie.
I'm shocked my cats have not made an appearance, but actually Gemini, the cat in that book, was inspired by my odd-eyed cat. I had an odd-eyed Persian. Sadly, she passed away last summer, but she was like my soulmate.
Come here, girl.
She's like, maybe.
I really want I want the pup to come out of nowhere and just bowl her over. Just
yes. Oh, look at her. She's so beautiful.
It's you pretty baby.
She's got blue eyes. She's so cute. She's loud. She's loud, no dog.
Well, ladies, I can't thank you enough for joining today and making the release of the book so special, and just to honor what an incredible job all of us did. Truly, this was a banging time, and I couldn't have been happier with it. Any last bits for us, Ciara? You got anything for us?
No, I mean, I just want to write more books so I can work with you guys again.
Hey, you will always have a home
Listen,
here.
I'm already gonna have to read that theater lovers book that I saw on your post the other day. I'm like, oh, it's a book written for me. I love it.
Yes, and that's the only other one that I've done with Ciara.
Yeah.
That was one that I narrated.
Okay. I'm gonna have to. Well, then I will buy the audiobook then instead.
Yeah. You can listen to it.
But yes, this was just such a wonderful time, and please, everyone, go check out the Mudpuddle Manual of Natural Magic. It is out today, and we couldn't be more excited for it. Thanks, everyone, for joining, and we will see you around shortly on the next Soundbooth Theater Live.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.